So when you start the Hangout, it'll show up.
Yes. Right now we are officially live recording.
Oh.
That's okay. I'll cut that part out. Hey everybody, this is Miranda from ZinnyMe, and I have the absolute amazing Melanie Yost. She is both a business coach and a licensed clinical social worker, and just one of the amazing people that I've met via LinkedIn, which is always so great. And today I wanted to bring her in to talk with you about the poverty mindset that she has encountered specifically with people in the helping and healing profession. So Melanie, tell us about what you've noticed and your expertise in this area.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate being here, and I love chatting with you. So poverty mindset. What I've noticed is that poverty mindset shows up in three main areas. In money, can't afford, time, don't have enough time, and energy. Gosh, I just don't have the energy. I'm so overwhelmed. So those are the three main areas where that shows up for therapists, but people in general.
Awesome. And what does that lead to for therapists specifically who are in private practice and who are running their own businesses? What does that mindset, what does it create for them in the world?
Well, let's start with money. Let's start with kind of that cycle with money, but you can do this with time or with energy as well. So with money, it can create this under-earning or this undercharging. So a lot of therapists will do pro bono work or reduced fees or set themselves up where they're not making a lot of money because they're thinking other people can't afford things. They're undervaluing their services, so they're reducing their rates, and then they're struggling to make ends meet and make a living, so they see more clients than they really should see. It's not good for their health. It's not good for their practice. And then they begin to feel resentful because they're working really hard. And here's the interesting thing is when you're offering a lot of reduced fee and you're not valuing your work, your clients aren't going to value your work.
Yes.
And they're not going to work hard, and they're not going to do. So then the mindset is, I'm working really hard, and I'm doing this for you, and I'm helping you out, and you're not doing your work. And it creates this resentment, which then affects how they show up for their clients and their sessions, which then affects the work, and then nobody's happy. So it's just this downward spiral, and then they're stressed out about their own finances, and then the more that they're stressed out and the more that they fall into that poverty consciousness, the more they project it onto others, and then the more they reduce their rates, and it's just this vicious cycle.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and I was looking at, I know that counseling psychology has been #1 on the list of the worst paid master's degrees, and I was checking the list the other day. Well, they've updated it, so master's in psychology, counseling psychology is #1, and master's in social work is #2 of the worst paid master's degrees in the United States.
Wow.
And one of the things I think is so interesting is I feel like a lot of therapists feel like when it comes to giving back to their community and pro bono work, like it's kind of all or nothing. They either have to be completely available to help everybody at this reduced rate or to say yes to everybody even if they can't afford their services, or somehow they have to be this like weird miser who never gives back.
Right.
When we like explain to them that there's a lot of different ways that you can give back. Yes, one way is to have a few sliding scale slots on your on your calendar, but the other way is to do supervision for free for a nonprofit. Another way is to do reduced fee supervision. Another way is to do community presentations for free. Another way you can give back is by doing great video trainings for your community online. You can, there's like a million ways you can give back. It doesn't have to be that you're trying to give out of a lack in your business so that you don't have a retirement or a vacation or a savings account or...
Yes, all the above.
Awesome. Now, sorry, I'll reset this a little bit. Tell me about, sorry, let me reread this question. So we've been talking about the poverty mindset in the helping and healing profession.
Yes.
Tell me about the ways that you feel like maybe the culture of helping and healing professions, meaning colleagues or graduate programs or licensing boards or professional organizations, what are ways that they can either kind of play into this poverty mindset, or ways that they can actually help to change and shift this poverty mindset?
Well, I think it's interesting because I have my master's in social work. Well, social work it was originally developed helping the poor, right?
Yes.
So I've run across so many people within my own program, professors, all of that. It just gets passed down. It's this indoctrination that in order to do this, like, this is a true calling, and it really is. Like, I can't imagine doing anything else. I love helping people. But with that, it feels like a ministry to a lot of people, and ministry and money don't work. Within the Christian tradition, ministry and money don't work, even though ministries make just unbelievable amounts of money.
Yes.
We call people into suspect. I mean, look at Joel Osteen. He gets so much flack talking about abundance, and he's under scrutiny for how much money he makes. So there is like this unconscious vow of poverty that a lot of therapists take. And it's reflected, like the instructors, other colleagues. I mean, when I moved into coaching from therapy, I had other colleagues really call me out on it. And I was doing it to change my business model, but also to increase the amount of money I could make. Because as a therapist, when you're only being paid per hour when someone is in front of you, and your income is dictated by, traffic, flu season, childcare, work schedules, lots of things outside of your control, and I wanted more control over my income, I got a lot of pushback from my colleagues.
Absolutely.
And you get pushback from your kids. I worked a lot with adolescents. Your clients, excuse me. I worked a lot with adolescents, so they were my kids. And I had this one kid, he was just so blatant. He's like, you don't give a crap about me. Sorry.
No, you're being honest. That's what he said, right?
You don't give a shit about me. You're just doing this for the money. I laughed because I said to him, if I were doing something just for the money, it would not be this. Trust me. I'm selling Harley Davidsons at my girlfriend's dealership, making $40,000 a month. It would not be this.
Yes. Well, and I think that's the thing that I think is so important to validate, that yes, this is a calling, and yes, you do this because you're incredibly passionate about it, but the only way you can continue this kind of work and do it long term is if you make money doing it. If you take care of yourself. I keep going back to this idea of when you're on the plane and you're taking care of other people, you have to put that oxygen mask on yourself first. Yes. If you don't have the oxygen mask, and this is financial too, you're going to suffocate. And I feel like there's so many therapists who are financially suffocating out in their practices.
Well, and it's not just suffocation. I actually talked with a flight attendant, and she said the reason they say that is oxygen deprivation, it impairs your judgment. So you want to put it on yourself first so that you have the best judgment to help the people around you. So when you are struggling financially, it impairs your judgment. When you are constantly putting yourself second or third or fourth on the list, you have nothing left to give, and it's impairing your judgment. You're drained.
I think this is so huge. A lot of our clients that went through our business school boot camp, one of the areas that we talked about really in a lot of detail was this issue of money. And what many of them noticed was once they started to move past their money issues, it changed their work with clients in a really deep and profound way, both from the perspective of getting paid, but more from like a clinical perspective. Because if we're fearful about money, if we make assumptions about what's happening for our clients about money or how they feel about money, but we're not doing an accurate assessment or doing treatment plans in those areas, then how can we really help them, right? Financial health, I feel like, is a part of the overall health, and there's so much that's psychological and mindset related in that area, who do we think they're going to go to? You know, you don't talk about your deep-seated fears with your CPA, and if you do, they're not really prepared to work with you on it.
Well, and money is so tied to safety and security for people. I mean, it is really, for a lot of people, it's a life or death issue. I mean, that's why when markets crash, people suicide, because it is so tied to that feeling of safety and security and that primal feeling of survival. So if we aren't comfortable, and when I worked in a group practice, you know, we had billing people and we had administrative staff, and the therapists, a lot of the therapists would not talk with their clients about their outstanding balances because they didn't want to muddy the clinical issues. I'm like, that is a clinical issue.
Yes.
You have to talk with them about that, and you have to get them comfortable with it.
Yes. That's one of the pieces that we saw that's so important is so many therapists are not taught to talk about money. We did a private practice analysis where we just asked people to kind of fill out a form that let us know what was happening in their practice. And one of the questions we asked is, kind of check the box, I let clients know what my fee is before they come into their first session. I was shocked at how many people did not tick that box.
You're kidding me.
No. It's actually really common in the psychoanalysis world to not talk about money, and if someone asks about fee, they're taught to say things like, okay, well, we'll work it out when you get here.
No. People need to know how to budget for.
Yes.
Oh, I can't imagine showing up not knowing how much a service is going to cost.
Yeah, and in most cases across the country, that's actually illegal beyond just like not appropriate. And so, we really teach therapists that how to do that initial consultation and to go through the process of giving people realistic expectations, not just about your hourly fee, but if you tell someone that your hourly fee is $150, but you don't tell them how frequently they need to attend in order to have the results that they need, right, then you really haven't given them a great idea, again, of how to budget. You have to say, this is how much it is, this is about how often we would meet, here's about how long we would start as a starting point. So, hey, for the next 8 weeks, it would be weekly at about $150 a session. How does that work for you financially? We need to get that direct, just like someone would if they went in for a facial series, right? You go into the medical dermatologist and they say, wow, I can totally help your skin cancer or whatever it is, but here's what it's going to cost, and this is what the initial treatment plan is going to be, and we'll go from there.
Yes. Well, and here's the thing, because a lot of therapists have this poverty consciousness and they project it onto people, and that is so disrespectful because we're making assumptions about them. We're making judgments, even though most therapists want to believe themselves to be very non-judgmental and open and accepting. We're actually making judgments about what they can and can't afford. And here is the thing I learned, when I was in graduate school. People afford what they want to afford. If it is important to them and valuable to them, they will find a way to afford it. When I was in graduate school, I worked Child Protective Services. I was going into these neighborhoods that police officers would only go in 2 cruisers at a time, and here I am taking my little my early 20s, my little self in there, and I go into these places, and they had big TVs, and the kids had designer sneakers, and they may not have any food, but they found a way to afford what was important to them. And this, I'm not putting any judgment on that. It's just, I realized if it's important to us, we find a way to afford it. If somebody kidnapped my daughter and wanted $1 million, I would find a way to get $1 million.
It's so incredibly true. I've seen that over and over again. I have this wonderful family member, and I always laugh every time I see her Coach bag or Coach bags, because she has more than one. And to me, that's just so not in my value system in any way, shape, or form. I would never spend money on that ever. And I know she struggles much more than, I don't struggle financially, and I have 2 incomes, and her husband doesn't work, and she's not making a lot of money. But dang it, she's got her Coach bag, and she's really happy about it, and that's totally fine, right?
Well, Yeah. Well, I did a call where I said this on a teleclass one time, and I got an email from somebody in England reaming me out. How dare I say that people afford what they want to afford? And he went into this long tirade about how he'd been out of work and he hadn't been able to find work and blah, 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 blah. And he had this antique armoire that was worth thousands, but he had to sell it for $350 so he could keep the internet on. And how dare I? And so I wrote him back and said a whole bunch of stuff. But one of the things I said is, you actually just illustrated my point. It was very important to you to keep the internet on, so you didn't like how you found the way, but you found a way to do it.
Yep. It's really true. Like, that was the thing. You could have gone to your public library and got the internet access that way, right?
Exactly. So people find a way. So to assume that someone can't afford your services is disrespectful and judgmental.
Yeah.
And it does them a disservice.
It really does. And I was always really surprised, because there would be sometimes that as I was doing an initial assessment and they were describing, I'm on a fixed income, I have an HMO, you know, whatever the situation was, and I didn't take insurance. And so I would say, like, oh, well, you know, this would be really expensive. I'm not sure if this will work for you. And they go, no, 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 I want to come see you. And I'd say, well, you know, you mentioned this part. I want to make sure this is going to work for you financially. I don't want you to get started and then have this be a stress for you. And it was so interesting. I had people who would come in who were on unemployment, both them and their spouse, and they said, you know what, you're who we want. We've talked to several other people. You know, yeah, it'd be great if you had a sliding scale slot open, but you're the person we want to meet with. We're living with his parents right now. We can make it work. Our relationship is that important.
Yes.
Right? Or the person who was retired and had some issues, and they said, you know what, look, I got actually, you know, I don't talk about it, but I got a huge sum of money as a inheritance. And, you know, part of the reason I'm going to therapy is because of the abuse from my family. So I think this is a great way to spend my inheritance.
Excellent.
So, you know, you just don't know. You know, I think it's an empathetic thing to check in on and to make sure of. But, yeah, you know, you'll be surprised at those answers. You don't want to assume. Like, just bring it to the surface and talk it through.
Exactly. And I want to say something in my experience, and this is something that I've recommended to lots of therapists about having reduced rates. And you've mentioned this. You pick a specific slots, you know, number of slots, and you have to do it based on what your financial goals are.
Yes.
So it has to fit within, it has to work for you. So let's say you pick 5 slots. One of the things and have very clear policies around that, you know, what that means, and when they're full, they're full. But for me, I didn't offer reduced rate slots to new clients.
Mm-hmm.
They could either pay my fee or they couldn't pay my fee. Those slots were only available to existing clients, and I had parameters. They had to show up regularly. They couldn't be the ones that were constantly no-showing or canceling at the last minute, and they had to be actively doing their work. So if they were showing up and actively doing their work, then if the need came up, yes, they could be eligible for that. But I didn't just offer them to brand new clients.
Yes. I think when I started my practice, I didn't know any better, right? And people said, like, hey, here's what you need to do. And initially, when I started, I had 0 sliding scale slots because I only had 5 slots. I had a newborn at home. I was breastfeeding. And so I looked at my business plan and I said, look, this is what I have. I have time to see 5 clients, and the only way to make it financially viable is if I charge this much, and I charge this much to everybody. And so that's what I did. And then as I went into full-time, there were some times when I accepted people initially, but once you're established and you're getting a good range of clients, ultimately what would happen is, it does just get filled by current clients. Even though I didn't have a policy against it, it was just a logistical thing. And because I kept my practice small because I did intense trauma work, I knew, okay, it's 10% of my caseload, right? Which is, you know, that's 2 clients, you know. that's it. You know, if I can maybe move that up to 20%, but that's, you know, 2 to 4 clients. That's all she wrote. And I need to have the other part of my practice working in such a way that those slots mean I don't care if I get paid for those or not.
Yes.
Right? So that's the other thing that I like to tell therapists is come up with a business plan with the number of clients that you need to have coming in and paying your full fee.
Yes.
And that is your business plan. If you have a couple of pro bono or sliding scale slots, that income has nothing to do with your income ultimately. If it goes away or if it's there, that shouldn't really tie into your business plan in a strong way. And
Exactly.
also giving them permission. Some people like to do sliding scale work. Some people don't. You can give back to your community in a lot of different ways. That is just one.
And the other thing that I've recommended to people is, you know, particularly people who feel like they need to get everybody on the bus, is to structure your business model. I'm sure you talk about this too, so that you have different price points. So if someone can't, it's not in their budget to come in and see you regularly individually, a group might be in their budget. Mm-hmm. Or a workbook, or like you said, online video training, or whatever. So there might be other things at different price points that is in their budget.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's where it's so hard that therapists often don't come into this work with business training, yes, or the business training that they do come into the work with actually kind of gets actively discouraged. And so it becomes their former life and their current life.
Yes. And
the two things kind of don't come together.
Mm-hmm.
Or the other piece is that therapists aren't taught to reach out and get support and, again, invest in figuring out how to do this business thing. Most other business owners, it's normal to go out and get a consultant, or at least to go to your local small business alliance and sit down and do free coaching with them. Like, we will search it out, but therapists feel like, well, the Small Business Alliance doesn't understand my unique needs, right, so I'm not going to go and ask someone who's not a clinician because they're going to give me bad business advice. But I don't have any way to invest in someone helping me figure out how to structure my business and how to get these things set up.
Well, okay, so I'm gonna get my soapbox for a minute.
I don't mind. Get on it, girl. Get on it.
So I think it's not that therapists don't have the resources to invest, because it's been my experience, and I've been there too, that therapists, a lot of them have certification after certification in treatment modality. So they've got money. It's important to them because we afford what we want to afford.
Yes.
And they think that having this certification, and this training is going to get them more clients. They are not often willing to invest in learning the business, because a lot of therapists that I've talked to, they have it's an internal struggle. They have a hard time wrapping their mind around this is a business. They want to treat it like a hobby or a jobette or a ministry.
Yes.
And here is the thing, like, all of that's fine, but if you want this to support you and to pay your expenses, you have to run it like a business, and in order to do that, you have to learn the skills. And in my master's program, I got zero business training. Although most of us end up going into private practice at one point or another,
yep,
zero business training. And so I had to go out and find that.
And it was worth it, right?
It was absolutely worth it. And learning how to do that is what brought my clients in, not this certification. Because the truth of the matter is, clients don't care about they don't care about your modalities. I mean, some are looking for a particular modality, but for the most part, they just want to feel better. They just want to get where they want to go, and they don't care how you do it as long as it's ethical and they don't care.
Yeah, well, and here's a great example, too. I am EMDR certified.
Me too.
I love EMDR. I think it's fantastic.
Me too.
One of the best trainings I've ever invested in as a trauma person. Fantastic. I did my first part of my training like 12 years ago, and then I went back maybe like 5 years ago and did the second part of my training. I had the most basic level certification, right? Most basic level. There's this whole advanced level that you can get through EMDRIA, and you can be EMDRIA certified, right? So people were searching every time there's something on 2020. That's how I figured out what the flow was. Every time there's something on TV or some great news article about EMDR, I would get kind of this like rush of calls of people saying, hey, I want to find you. And they found me by Googling, right? Mm-hmm. Now, when they would Google, they would find me initially, and then one other person got certified who was on the internet. And they would call me up and they would say, oh my gosh, I want to see you. And I'd say, oh my gosh, I'm full. And they're like, but you're the only person who does EMDR. Was I? No. In fact, there's this great guy down the street who is EMDRIA certified, had tons more training than I did, tons more, like a whole, I think he was at like the consultant level trained of EMDR. Like he was at this higher level, but he had no website. His nothing was linked on EMDRIA. He wasn't listed on the EMDR.com site, even though he could have been. He wasn't listed anywhere. And so it was this crazy thing where even though he had this advanced level certification, he didn't get clients from the internet, and he could have. You know?
Well, yeah, then that's what I talk to people about marketing. You can be the best at what you do, but if you're not out there, if people don't know about you, they're not going to come. You can't help them.
Exactly, exactly. Even now that I have transferred states, I'm not taking any new clients on, and obviously I don't do any distance EMDR or anything like that. Now everybody who calls me, I'm referring them to the other people in town, and they're going, oh my gosh, this is so fantastic. And I don't know how to tell them, like, you know, eventually I'm probably going to close down my website, or I'm going to sell it, or I'm going to do something else with it. And you really should be putting this stuff out. Like, why should they filter through me to find you? Like,
when they can just find you.
Right? And to be blatantly honest, it's ridiculous that I'm spending all this time and energy just connect people over to you. Come on, step up.
Exactly. Well, they sound like they'd be great candidates for your boot camp.
True that. True that. That's fantastic. All right. All right, so I'll reset for a second.
Okay. Take a drink.
Oh, true that. Do you mind if I go get a drink of water too?
Not at all.
I already finished off my stuff. Oh, I'm wearing a dress and shorts.
You okay?
Yes, I took a huge gulp of water and of course choked on it.
Ah.
All right, everybody, I have the fabulous Melanie Yost here again with us today, and we are going to ask her a fabulous, fantastic question, and she's agreed to answer it, which is, if you could give one piece of advice to therapists in private practice, anything you wanted to tell them and they were going to hear you and listen and actually implement it, what would that piece of advice be?
The most important thing you can do is to see your practice as a business and to treat it like a business and learn the things that you need to learn to run it like a business so it supports you, it supports your family, and it supports your clients.
And what impact will that have on your clinical work?
It will have an amazing impact because, first of all, you're going to be seen as a professional. And people are going to have, your clients are going to have a lot of confidence in you. When you feel like a professional, when you show up as a professional, when you run your business professionally, it boosts confidence. Your clients have far more confidence in you, and then they have more confidence in themselves to do the work that you need to do, and particularly if you're doing really hard work. And here's the thing, a lot of therapists are like, I'm not a salesperson. one of the things that I realize is, because I've done trauma work like you, if I can sell people on the idea of looking, shining the flashlight in those dark corners and those really painful places, I can freaking sell anything. Are you kidding me?
Isn't that the truth? Well, and I think so many therapists don't even like the idea that what they're doing is selling, but if someone is giving you money for a service, you're selling your service. Get over yourself. It's okay.
You're selling your time, you're selling your knowledge, you're selling your expertise. A lot of therapists think that they struggle with charging because they think that they woke up one morning and they had all this knowledge. When you sit down, like when I sat down and looked at how much time, money, and energy I had invested in knowing what I know, I was dumbfounded. Because like I said, I went on the whole certification trail, so I've got certifications out the wazoo. You know, my graduate degree, all the time, everything I have spent knowing what I know. It's astounding how much I have invested in that. And so you have to understand that when you're sitting with a client, you are sharing your years of experience, your years of education, all the time that you have invested, all the money that you've invested. They're paying for your knowledge, they're paying for your presence, and they're paying for you.
Yes. And they're paying for you to be a model of good self-care.
Yes, exactly. So if you're walking in all stressed out and worried, you're not instilling a lot of confidence, and you're not being a good model for what taking care of yourself and having being healthy is all about.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Melanie. If you haven't checked out Melanie, connect with her on LinkedIn. She's fantastic and so wonderful to click with. She also wrote this amazing book regarding the poverty mindset. So go and check that out if you want to kind of dig into that a little bit deeper, and if your best way of learning and processing is by reading and kind of diving in. But again, thank you so much, Melanie. I'm so excited that we got to connect this way.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm just so pleased. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, awesome. All right, so I feel like we got maybe 3 different little mini videos. Does that feel good to you?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Are there any other questions or another topic you'd like to cover in our today while we're sitting here doing this?
No, I think for now, if there's something else that that you'd like, and I want to be doing this. I want to start doing this more often, and so I'm going to be returning the favor and interviewing you.
Cool.
And then I think what I'd like to do is when I send out and I have to get organized in my mind, but when I send out the email to my list that I'm getting ready to let go of and pointing them to you, I'd like for there to be a video included in that. So I don't really understand how all of this works, but I know that Google now owns YouTube, so it's probably pretty easy to post this on YouTube.
Yes.
So I'm going to figure out all of that technology. I also don't edit, so what it is what it is.
No, I'm totally cool with that. The only reason I figured we would edit it today is I won't edit it crazy. It'll just be literally like, okay, from here to there, that's one. From here to there, it's one. The Google Hangouts is pretty cool. I can send you over a quick video that shows you how to get started with it.
Oh,
and it actually immediately uploads it to YouTube, but it uploads it in a private, the way that I have it set up. So it's not something where, right now we could have people watching us, but we're not. But it is automatically on YouTube, and I can just go in and clip and trim out the video and rename it and then go from there. It's really easy.
Excellent. If you could send that video, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. Of course, yay. So again, thank you so much for taking time with me today, and I'm excited about kind of our next steps, and yeah, and I know that I think you already signed up for the affiliate stuff, so you probably started getting some stuff, is that right? Or
I haven't yet. I will sign up.
Okay, groovy.
I have the link, and I just have been a slacker. Sorry.
Well, we want to make sure that we can give you the little special link stuff. We have a webinar coming up next week, a free webinar that's talking about storytelling.
Uh-huh.
and how to use storytelling and your passion for your practice to bring clients to your doorstep.
Nice.
And so that might be kind of a fun one. We also have one next month about setting your fees as a therapist. So those are two areas too. Like even if you wanted to kind of put together a quick email to your people to say, hey, I know that I haven't been here and as present or what have you, but here's some free upcoming trainings that I think would be really amazing. You can click here and you can use your little affiliate link. It'll put them into our little funnel. And so if they purchase from us 3, 6, a year from now, it doesn't matter. It should all go through as long as they haven't cleared out their cookies.
Okay.
Our cookies last forever. So as long as they haven't like gone in and cleared out their browser, we should be fine. And we have it pretty well set up, I think, even if that's the case. As long as they register for something, we're going to be able to see that they came through your affiliate branch and be able to appropriately send them over to you. We're still learning our new system, so
okay.
Got to double check some of those technical pieces.
Awesome.
All right. Yay!
So thank you, thank you, thank you.
You are welcome, welcome, welcome. And I'll send over all the links to the videos here today too, so that you can share those if you want to, or if you see a place for them on social media or LinkedIn or what have you. I feel it's been kind of interesting as I've done a few more videos that people engage with that more than I thought they would. I'm actually not a big video watcher myself.
You know what? I'm not either, so that's why I haven't done a lot. Like, to me, I would much rather skim an email than watch a video.
Yes. That's me too. That's totally me, and that's why I waited so long to like really get into it. And I've done some like technical videos where it's like, oh, this is how to do that. And so those like felt like, well, this is important because then people can like see exactly how to do it. So like that's a benefit to doing it via video. But honestly, we didn't get a ton of like views on that. So it was kind of like, like why would I keep doing that? But one of the videos that I posted it's not a ton, but it was like 700 views so far. And it was like, oh, and then we started getting emails from people like in the UK and Australia saying, I watched your video on YouTube. This is amazing. And I'm like, okay, I see the value. Okay, I'll get on it. So.
All righty then.
All right. Have a great day.
Thank you so very much.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.